Hello friends, and welcome to card 5 of my Christmas in July series. Today I'm going to share with you how I created this cute scene using some Hello Bluebird products. This is a little bit of a longer video, so hang on tight and let's get into it. For today's card, I'm going to be using this stamp set from Hello Bluebird called Coffee Friends. I'm also going to be using a die from Hello Bluebird called Be Merry, and going to be using the Summer Woodland Scene Slimline die. I'm pretty sure that's what it's called. I'll have it linked below. And I'm going to be using the Slimline Snowdrifts from MFT. The first thing that I wanted to do is I wanted to get my background panel ink blended so that I could get into the coloring. I just have a piece of Bristol smooth cardstock here, and I'm using my 3 favorite blue colors, Tumbled Glass, Salty Ocean, and Chipped Sapphire, to create a kind of a wintry scene in the background. Now, most of this is going to be covered up, so I probably could have got away with, just doing a single blue color, but I like doing the ink blending, getting some practice in, and it really, it's kind of relaxing for me. So I'm just starting with the Chipped Sapphire. I'm going to go in with the Salty Ocean and then the Tumbled Glass. Again, this is one of my favorite ways to create a scene that I'm going to be doing snow or stars on. If you follow my channel for a while now, you know that this is one of my favorite color combinations, and I love doing it for winter cards. I'm going to kind of tidy up my work surface here so I don't get a whole lot of transfer, especially on this lighter blue area, because this is what's going to be mostly seen here. Once I have that all blended, I'm going to set it off to the side to dry completely. Next, we're going to get into the coloring. There is a lot of coloring here, so along the side here I have listed all of the colors that I used for each image, and because this is a lot of coloring and I left all of it in, I'm going to go ahead and throw on some music here, and once all of the coloring is completely finished, we'll go ahead and finish up this card together. that the coloring is all finished, I use the coordinating dies to cut out all of these sweet little images. We're going to set them off to the side so we can finish up our scene. Got our background panel here and it is nice and dry, but we're just going to test that out to make sure, and we're going to take our Brutus Monroe Alabaster White embossing powder and just run it along the panel here just to make sure that it's nice and dry. And it is, so we can get started with some embossing. Now again, if you've followed my videos for a few years now, you know that I had kind of an obsession with using this embossing pen from Lawn Fawn. I used it almost on every card a few years ago, and I forgot that I had it. So I thought I would pull it out for this card. I felt like maybe it would really help with the scene and the cuteness of these particular critters, and I really wanted the snowflakes to stand out on this card. Sometimes whenever you do just regular ink splattering with gouache, the blue from the Distress Oxide inks kind of feeds through it. And I really wanted these snowflakes to stand out and be nice and white. Now I know that they have some like paint markers you could use or gel pens or anything like that. I just wanted to break out my embossing pen because I hadn't used it in a while. And again, this is one of my favorite ways to add snowflakes. I think it really turned out really organic because you can make them any size, any shape that you want. And I think it's just so great. Again, a lot of these snowflakes will be kind of hidden behind some of our critters and the other elements that we have going on our scene, but I wanted to add them anyway, just to kind of play around with the embossing pen again. And you have to work pretty quickly with the embossing pen because it does dry fairly quick. I had a couple issues last year with it where I thought I could do an entire panel and then come back and add the embossing powder, and it didn't really stick really well. So do little sections at a time and you won't have an issue with the embossing ink drying too quickly. So get my area all cleaned up here, get my embossing powder put away before I spill it everywhere, and I've got my heat gun heating up over here, and we'll go ahead and heat up our little snowflakes here. Again, this is one of my favorite techniques. I really love doing this. And there we have it. Nice and melted and ready to go. Clean up my surface, hide embossing powder everywhere. I still end up getting it everywhere. Even if I try to contain it, it still flakes off and goes everywhere. So I've got a Slimline card base here cut out of some Neenah Desert Storm cardstock. It is cut down to 8.5 by 7, and I scored it at 3.5 to get a kind of it's not really a top folding slimline card, it's just like a side folding slimline card. I wanted to open it from the top, is what I was getting at. And I have this background panel trimmed down, so I have like a little bit of a border around my scene. I didn't want it to go edge to edge. I wanted to kind of have it look like it's framed up in a scene, and just throwing some acrylic blocks on there to get those all lined up. The next thing that I wanted to do is I wanted to get the rest of my elements done for my background scene. So I took 2 of the trees from that summer Slimline scene die from Hello Bluebird, and I'm just going to color them in with my warm Copic mullet. Oh my goodness, I can't talk today. My warm Copic markers. And I just wanted to use the warm grays to make them kind of look like birch trees. I'm going in with my lightest gray color, a W1, then going in with a W3 to add some shading to the edges of the trees. This is probably one of my favorite ways to color trees for winter. I don't know what it is about having birch trees in winter scenes. I feel like your regular like maples and your oak trees are more suited for summer and fall cards. There's just something about doing some nice birch trees in the wintertime. Next, I'm going to take my warm gray, or my W7, it's the darkest shade of warm gray that I have, and I'm just adding some lines like birch trees all the way across my card here. Geez, I can't talk, my brain is so fried. This head cold really took it out of me. I don't know what's going on. But just to make it look like birch trees. And then just going over with another gray color, just kind of soften those up a little bit. And we're all done. Get that set off to the side, and I apologize if I'm zoomed in really close. There we go. Okay, and I have some slimline snowdrifts cut here, and I didn't want to attach anything down until I knew exactly where I wanted to put my trees, because I didn't want the bottoms of the trees to show because they kind of have some grassy spots on it, and I didn't want the tops to show either. So once I have everything kind of placed where I want it, I'm just going to take a little bit of a pencil here and mark where I need to trim everything up so that it will all fit together nicely. And I'm just using some nice Tombow glue. Everything for the scene itself is going to be flat, and then all of my critters and my sentiments are going to be popped up. That'll give me the dimension I'm looking for. Get that pressed down, and then I can start adding my trees. And I like using the liquid glue because it gives you a little bit of wiggle room to get everything placed before it settles in. And I'm just using my scissors to trim off the pieces that are sticking above our colored piece. Again, I wanted to have a nice frame around our scene. And I really like that you can use other dyes for multiple seasons. I was really looking forward to having this dye so that I could use it for multiple seasons, and it seems to be working out great for me so far. Get that trimmed off, add some glue, and get that stuck down. And it's starting to come together. I was really excited about this. I had this idea kind of sketched out in my mind and in my little sketch pad about, probably at the end of June when I got this set, and I was so excited to use it, and the coloring turned out great, and I just love this little Hello Bluebird set. I can't wait to use it again. I was thinking about using it for maybe a fall card as well. Get everything lined up, and it is turning out amazing. I just love this little scene here. Now we can get our, what are we going to do next? Our sentiment. So I was going to do a blue sentiment with some navy cardstock, but I felt like it kind of blended in too much with the background. So I decided to go with this craft and do kind of a white shadow off of it. And I really, really like the way that this turns out. It kind of pulls the craft in from the card base and kind of ties everything together. I like it how it's better. It's like kind of a woodsy feel with the craft. Now, if I had some wood grain cardstock, that would have looked really, really cool. But I just decided to use this, and I like the way that it turned out. And I'm going to be using some Doris 3M foam strips to attach all of this together. And I won't bore you with me adding all of these foam strips. I'm just going along and adding them along the back here just to pop it up to give it some dimension. Once I have all of that covered with the foam tape, I'm going to pull off all of the release paper and get it lined up on my scene here. I wanted to make sure I got my sentiment in there first before I started adding my critters so that I knew exactly where I needed to place all of our little friends here. And I know I wanted to use all of these critters. I think the only one I didn't use out of the set was the raccoon. I didn't have enough room for him. I probably could have colored him and put him on the inside of the card. That way I've used all of the images, but I didn't think about that. And I struggled with where to place these last two little images. I played around quite a bit with the placement, and I thought about moving my sentiment, but I didn't want to rip my scene at all, so I left it. And I just kind of fiddled around quite a while. I wanted to make sure it was nice and balanced. It didn't have too many on one side or anything like that. And then I realized that this owl, he could be like perched. Because, I mean, he's a bird. He flies, right? So I thought, oh, maybe I could get him to fit up top and it will look good. And I loved him up there. It really kind of gives you that triangle shape to kind of, get the eye moving around the scene. And it turned out great. So I'm only going to glue a couple of our critters flat. I'm going to glue the fox and the bunny flat to the scene, and I'm going to pop up all of the rest of our critters here. And I'm just going to be using some foam tape and a little bit of Tombow glue to make sure that everybody is nice and adhered down. And I apologize if I still sound a little funny. I'm still getting over this head cold. It just will not go away. I feel great otherwise, it's just my head feels like it's going to pop. I don't know if any of you have been dealing with this head cold that's been driving everybody crazy. I don't know if it's the pollen or if it's just because it's so muggy and hot here in central Pennsylvania. I don't know, but it needs to go away. Get our little squirrel attached here, and I'm just using some foam tape and some liquid glue just to make sure that everybody is adhered in their place. And I just love the way that this turned out. It's so sweet. And I ended up using the Derice foam strips instead of the 3M. I think it leveled it all out a little bit better. It probably doesn't really matter. You can use any foam tape that you want. I just like the dimension of the Derice ones. They kind of match the dimension of the sentiment itself. And I felt like the bottom was really blank right in the middle there, and I didn't have a small enough critter to fit in there, so I found this greeting from this large stamp set from Memory Box. I used it quite a bit last year in my series. I'll have it linked below if you want to use it as well. And I just took that blue, I think this is soft navy from Simon Says. I stamped that down using some Versamark ink, and I'm going to be using Brutus Monroe Alabaster White embossing powder, the same embossing powder I used on the snowflakes for the background. Once I got that stamped down, I'm going to coat it in that embossing powder, and I'm going to trim it out using a banner die from my Blueprints 29 MFT set. I'm not sure if this one's available anymore, but there's lots of banner dies out there that you can use. This one was a perfect fit for this sentiment, and I really liked how this greeting kind of rounds out the rest of the greeting. So it says, "Be merry throughout this joyous season," and I really felt like this went perfectly with our little scene here. So you can see I just used that flag banner die, to cut that out. And I'm going to adhere it nice and flat to the scene. I thought about popping it up, but there was enough dimension on here that I didn't want to kind of take away from what else was going on. And I really think that finishes off this scene. And now we can go in with some finishing details. This is probably one of my favorite parts of creating a card because I really think that it just rounds out the entire card, and it's a lot of fun to do. Excuse me. So I'm going to start out doing some white gel pen details. I wanted to add a little bit of detail to their accessories here, some stripes to the fox's little scarf here, and some polka dots to some other scarves, and adding some other white highlights, especially to their little cheeks. I really like doing this, and I wanted to add just a little bit of highlight to the hedgehog. It could be a hedgehog or a porcupine. I don't think it matters, but I wanted to make it look like he had a little bit of spines. Some white pen detail to their mugs, and I wanted to add a little bit of white pen detail over on this side of the card just to kind of balance it out as well. And I'm going to add a little bit of glitter detail with my aqua shimmer pen. I probably should have done this before I added the white gel pen because I wanted to add a little bit more than what I did here. But I was okay with where I added the glitter. Again, if you're going to use glitter pen over top of gel pen, you want to do the glitter pen first because the glitter pen will kind of wash away, in a sense, the gel pen. And I wanted to make my sentiment nice and glittery as well, so I coated it with that same aqua shimmer pen just to add a little bit more shimmer to it, and it looks like it's wet, but it dries back to its normal color once it's all finished. And the last thing I wanted to do is I wanted to add just a few more elements to my background. I'm going to add some of these snowflakes that I have from Tailored Expressions. Some nice three-dimensional snowflakes just to kind of round out the scene and make it look a little bit more interesting. This is the last card in my Christmas in July series, but if you subscribe and hit the little notification bell, you may or may not be surprised to see a bonus card that I've got coming up for you guys. So again, if you hit the notification bell, you'll be notified as soon as that video is uploaded, and I really think that you guys will all enjoy that video. I had a lot of fun creating it, and I can't wait to share it with you. I hope you have a great day. I'll see you again soon. Bye! On screen, I have a few videos that I think you'll enjoy. Consider hitting the subscribe button so you don't miss out on any of our videos on my YouTube channel.